album where a few things happened at once, which is I needed to get sober,
Right.
and I got sober, and I decided through that I didn't want to do Until Rhythm Breaks anymore or release music as an artist because it was all wrapped up in the same mess. And maybe I would go back and try the film scoring again, or write for other people or something like that. But then this incredibly serendipitous thing happened with a guy called Ayman Hariri, who had started a company called Vero, a non-algorithmic social media platform.
Wow.
And I just made a photography book with him and with them because that's a hobby of mine. And we had a great time doing it. And then it slowly just became this idea to start a label in the way that I had been through the system. And I knew these things about labels, like the struggles artists had if they wanted to do something that didn't fit in, and how contracts worked, and how it's not always set up for the benefit of the artist. And it's just been growing and growing. And there's amazing people there now, like Lawrie, who you met. And we're just
He seems a
trying.
really cool guy, actually.
Oh, he's amazing. He's the
Yeah.
best. And his whole, I mean, I'm waiting for his book. His story is,
Yeah.
but and that's a good point. It's kind of a collection of these people who have been through the music industry in whatever their area is, and have arrived at the point saying, I still want to do this and help other people and artists, but it has to be done differently. And then therefore that allows me to kind of be this, make what I want to make, which doesn't make it easy. You know, we don't have the infrastructure of major labels and things like that, but it does mean that we have creative freedom. And for me, after all these years, that's what's most important to me.
I mean, an example going through my mind while you're talking there is it's a great example, which is hopefully is very flattering. Something like Bowie, look, we look at Bowie, right? And the way,
I'll
what
take.
yeah. Well, who wouldn't take that, isn't it? But I mean, it is being like a musical chameleon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just leaping from this to this, and he went where it went, and
Yeah, I mean, God, I think of Nick Cave, or
yeah, Nick Cave's a great example too.
like even someone like Dylan, who
Yeah,
you think it was heavily criticized, even when he picked up an electric guitar.
yeah. All that, yeah,
It was like a shock.
yeah,
And that's actually, I mean, I've never talked about this stuff, but I think about that. And it's interesting that technology changes
yeah,
and the industry changes, but still there's this sense that people want you to be what they want you to be.
yep,
And if you try and get outside of that,
yeah,
how dare you?
yeah.
In not just music, in anything. So I think I think it's important to rally against that, but it comes with, it's a much longer journey, to pick up fans and keep them and engage an audience, because I don't even know where I'm going next. So
How do you survive, Pete, in terms of because the music industry, we had lockdown and all the rest of it, and what I would call the word for homogenization, where everything becomes the same, where there used to be petrol stations have all kind of gone, all the Cardiff chip shops have all gone,
Oh, don't tell me that.
No, everything kind of changes, and then you end up with kind of everyone's wearing the same outfit, going to the same gig, buying records from the same label, listening to the same record, the radio station, etc. And it kind of kills everything. But the byproduct of that for you as a working musician, you have to survive, right? So does it come down to sort of merch and product and this kind of thing? How does that work?
Great question. I was lucky enough with the Vero situation that because without knowing it, as a way to survive over the years, I had to kind of learn bits of everything and become as self-sufficient as I can. that is huge. That's what I would say to any starting artist now, is learn as much of everything as you can that doesn't take you away from the music, but you have to learn to be a fully functioning operation in order to survive now, you know. And by accident over time, that means that you may have the opportunity to lend those skills to projects other than your own, just to earn a bit of money.
Yeah.
And I'll do anything in a creative sense. I mean, I've done all kinds of things outside of that, but in order to fund doing the thing that I love,
Yeah.
it's like you have to be willing to. It's truly a survival game. It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
those artists we talk about. Nick Cave didn't wake up one day as Nick Cave.
No, no.
He's been making records for 50 years, 40 years in all different ways, and it's just work. But it's this, there's a issue there with, you know, social media and all the things you mentioned, the homogenization, is that there's a slight expectation because of social media that it's all just going to happen tomorrow for me.
And it's going to be free.
And it's going to be free. And then even on the artist side, it's like I'll go on social media, so I see this person have a huge success, so where's mine? And it's hard work. It's the best job in the world, but it's not without hours put in. And are willing to let go a bit of that kind of snobbery or these are some of the reasons I'm so happy to be Welsh. Honestly, there's like you have to. There's less of that. Like, I think we accept that we work, and you work hard and get on with it. You know, that there's a sensibility there that I really appreciate. You know,
that runs through you, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. My parents, you know, they were musicians, but it was my mum. I would hear my mum practicing her instrument at 6 o'clock every morning my entire life, and she still does, and she's retired. So there's an obsession you have to have.
Yeah.
You know, if I had to go work, you know, it could happen any day. Trust me, I wake up at 3. I ask myself the same question you asked me at 3 o'clock in the morning every day. Like, what? How am I going to maintain this? But you just find a way.
Do you get out much and perform in, you know, in the States? You sort of out there playing? Do you do much of that?
The second album, like I said, was incredibly complicated because I had never been a natural. I was always very anxious on stage. And because I think, like I said, it wasn't my dream wasn't be a singer. Right. I'm a kind of studio nerd.
Yeah, it's very tuneful. Your stuff is really tuneful. It's quite melodic and tuneful, I think.
Oh, thank you very much. That I really appreciate that, because that's the singing, like I said, is the bit where I have to go, oh God. But
it works. Yeah, it works.
I appreciate that. I mean, a lot of my favorite singers technically aren't very proficient singers, you know. Dylan, Nick Cave, Nina Simone, even, who's my favorite singer ever.
Yeah.
It's all feel,
soul, you know? Isn't there?
Yeah. The live thing. So I think that was the genesis of my addiction issues. Is years and years of touring the first and second record, and having to find a way to get through the anxiety, not talking to anyone about it, and communicating. And, you know, it's just one drink to get on stage today is 20 drinks in 5 years. So that hit a point, and I decided I wasn't going to make an Until the Room Breaks record again, and I certainly wasn't going to play live again. And then 7 years sober, I played my first this year I've played my first ever shows sober. I've done 2 shows.
Wow. What was that like?
South
Was
by
that before, like walking on it, even there?
Oh, I mean, South by was the first one in Texas,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was like, I can't tell you the amount of lies and excuses I tried to come up with to cancel it, and I just the amount of anxiety, and all the way leading up to 2 minutes before I went on, and then
Mm.
I went on stage, and I've never been less nervous from the second I walked on.
Wow.
It was like, it was such a shock to me that it kind of dissipated. And I think that's all I needed, is just one in the can.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
show, it wasn't like the show was perfect, but that's the point, you know? And so now I've just got this bug that I've never had before.
Right.
Because we just played a festival in the UK in Margate at Dreamland.
All right.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it was just so much fun. And fun is something I've never experienced before on stage. So that I'm just
Lovely.
like, doing shows, when are we doing shows? And I've never felt like that before. So that's for that to happen 4 albums in is an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah, yeah.
thing.
That's
It's
a
like
great
the
story.
opposite of being jaded, you know?
Yeah, that's really lovely. It's a really lovely story. And so you didn't even want to get on, but you walked off feeling like $1 million kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, like relief.
Hmm.
Like, this is something I can do, because had that anxiety not gone, it would have reiterated this fear I had that live is just not going to be part of what I do,
Yeah.
and that would be a real shame.
Did you ever read up much about Nick Drake, by the way? Just
Yeah,
a bit about his thing about performing live, and how he just
yeah. I mean,
couldn't do it.
I had my
He's a
Pink
legend.
Moon. Yeah, I had my Pink Moon. Like,
It's
when
my
I was,
all-time favorite song, Pink Moon, by the way.
what's that?
Pink Moon's my all-time favorite song and album. Hmm.
When I first attempted finger picking,
Hmm.
and then heard Nick Drake, I just, the tune, the alternative tunings and all that kind of thing.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, there's something in his playing.
Hmm.
But that's just the saddest. Yeah, I've read the book by his sister, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
Rihanna, is
just
it? I think so.
yeah, it's so sad, because you just feel like it was at a time where there weren't the tools, there weren't the conversations. It felt like it wouldn't have been okay, when you read it, okay, for him to say,
Hmm.
I'm struggling. So just had to do it in silence, and it killed it. And you think about the Nick Drake records that we would have. I think
Yeah,
about it with things like Buckley. It's like the saddest things about the early deaths is like, what would an Amy Winehouse record be like today?
yeah, yeah.
You know?
How I think was Amy Winehouse, was she 27 as well? I think she's part of that
Yeah.
legendary tragic club, that people
Yeah.
talk about. Yeah, it took us into a bit of a dark area, but
That's
I
fine.
mean, I love Nick Drake, and I
Yeah.
mean, I like Leonard Cohen and this kind of stuff as well. And it isn't a different one for you as a songwriter as well, because I've heard loads of your stuff, but I have listened around a bit. And is there, do you think, any kind of sense of melancholy at all somewhere in some of the stuff that you do?
Yeah.
And do you think sometimes, and it's a weird thing to say, like Pink Moon, people say, "Oh, it's too sad, I can't listen to it." I find it beautiful, I love it, and it's quite a positive experience for me to listen to it. Leonard Cohen's a classic example. Oh, he's too sad.
I
There's a
love
beauty in melancholia, I think.
I love that you said that, because that is a debate I've always had. My favorite mood I love Leonard Cohen. Um, my favorite mood that music puts me in is what I would call, or have tried to describe as, like, train window,
Yeah, yeah,
like
okay, yeah,
bittersweet, like you're saying goodbye, and that's sad, but there's like a euphoria in that.
yeah,
But that's hard to, you either feel that or you don't, and like you're saying that
yeah,
you
yeah,
totally get that there's such, it doesn't make me sad to listen to sad music. It makes me moved, and that's different. Like I think sad is what I do if, like, even if I cried to a beautiful piece of sad music, it's not sadness. It's that you're experiencing this expression that that's by someone else that you relate to, and then suddenly you feel like a human being, like that. There's a connection in that, because often sad music is maybe just another word for honest.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's an emotional experience, isn't it? And that's quite pivotal, I think, in songwriting. If you can initiate that in somebody, you're kind of there, I think.
Yeah, completely. Like, it's funny. I'm sure you've experienced this. If I've put songs on in rooms or made playlists for people, and it's like, what are you doing? You just killed the vibe, and it's like, no, listen,
Yeah,
listen
yeah,
to what he's saying.
yeah.